Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Thursday, June 13th, 2024. Today I'm going to recap Game 3 of the NBA Finals, Game 7 of the AHL Eastern Conference Finals, MLB, WNBA, soccer. We're going to do NHL regrets today, news and notes, and best bet. We'll kick it off with the NBA Finals, Game number 3. It was interesting, but in the end, the Boston Celtics found a way to win another close game and go up 3-0 in the series with a 106-99 win over the Mavs. The Mavs were down by double digits in this game. They outscored by 16 in the third quarter. They had all this momentum. They were within a possession. Luka fouls out. And then Kyrie hits a shot to make it a 1-point game. And then Boston took over from there. They survive. And now they're up 3-0 in the series. Jason Tatum finally had a good game, 31 points. In the win, Kyrie Irving had 35. In defeat, Jaylen Brown had 38 and 8. He was outstanding. Luka, 26, 6 and 6 in the 6 fouls. And off the bench, Derek Lively was good. PJ Washington was in the starting lineup. He was good. Derek White played well. No Porzingis, obviously, because of the injury. And I don't know if we're still going to see him in the series. We'll see. Al Horford hit some shots, made some plays. Drew Holiday wasn't as good as he was in the other game. So I think his finals MVP candidacy is off the table. To me, if I had to pick it right now, it's probably Jaylen Brown. And I think it comes down to comes down to Friday, and if necessary, 5 and maybe even 6, who knows, with Porzingis. And then, let's face it, though, I think Dallas wins if Luka doesn't foul out. To me, that just changed all the momentum of that game. And Dallas is going to look back on Game 2 and Game 1, obviously, for their poor shooting performances, and then Luka fouling out in Game 3, and say, we could have easily won a game or two in this series. I mean, Game 1, Boston just dominated, although Dallas got within 8. But they could have won Game 2. And they obviously could have won last night. And now Boston's winning all these close games. And they are one win away from their 18th championship in franchise history. And it would be their first title since 2008. And there's a lot of pressure on the Celts. A ton of pressure because the other 3 teams in Boston have won titles more recently than them. The Red Sox last won in 2018. The Patriots last won in 2019. And who am I missing? Oh, the Bruins made the finals in 19. And they last won it in 2011, so they have a little bit of a drought too. But a lot of pressure on Boston on Friday night to close this thing out because they don't want this to drag on, and then you're going to have the questions about Missoula, and then there's going to be a lot of pointing the finger at, Porzingis, if he was healthy, this would have been an easy sweep, and that whole deal. So a ton of pressure on Friday night for Boston to close it out. We'll preview and pick the game on the podcast tomorrow. Now move on to the AHL Conference Finals. It was a very fun game, and of course it went to overtime, and the Hershey Bears get it done with a 3-2 win in overtime, as Garrett Rose scores the game winner from Logan Day and Jimmy Huntington, 7:38 into and so Logan Day and Jimmy Huntington with the assists in that overtime goal. Of course, Garrett Rose, number 2 started the game with 44 saves, or 42 saves on 44 shots. He probably should have been the number 1 star, Hunter Shepard. He was outstanding. because Cleveland outplayed Hershey for a lot of this game. And the third started the game with the goal, Pierrick Dubé. He scored on the power play to give the Bears the 2-1 lead in the second. So, fun game. Cleveland, some missed opportunities, obviously. They could have easily won 1-2 and 7. And now they go to the offseason with a lot of questions. And the Bears tomorrow begins the Calder Cup final as they'll have a rematch with Coachella Valley. So Friday and Sunday is games 1 and 2. 3, 4, 5 is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then 6 and 7 back in Hershey are Monday, Tuesday. So it's every other day in this series, and the travel's going to be crazy. So Friday at 7 o'clock, Sunday at 5, Tuesday at 10 Eastern, Thursday 10 Eastern, Saturday the 22nd, 9 Eastern, Monday the 24th if necessary, 7 Eastern, and same with June 26th for a possible Game 7. So, should be a good series. I'll preview and pick that series on tomorrow's podcast. Now we will preview and predict game number 3 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight, 8 o'clock on ABC. Panthers-Oilers. Should be a really good game. Edmonton back home. You know that crowd is going to be absolutely ruckus, even though they're down 0-2 in the series. Edmonton's minus 138. Florida's plus 115. Over under 5.5. Over's minus 104. There's minus 118. Florida plus 1.5 is minus 25. Edmonton minus 1.5 is plus 184. I like the under. Edmonton is adapted to these low-scoring games. I underestimated that a little bit in terms of how they're perceived. But I think Stuart Skinner and that defense has done a great job. So I'm going to say the under, and I would parlay with Edmonton on the money line. I think Edmonton wins this game, and that this series will be at least extended to 5 games. So under 5.5, minus 118 is the pick, but I would parlay that with the Edmonton on the money line at minus 138. Now move on to baseball. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to today's games. Twins over the Rockies 17-9. Brewers over the Blue Jays 5-4. Giants over the Astros 5-3. Padres over the A's 5-4. O's over the Braves 4-2. Nats over the Tigers 7-5. Cubs over the Rays 4-3. Reds over the Guardians 4-2. Mets over the Marlins 10-4. Red Sox over the Phillies 8-6. Cards over the Pirates 4-2. Yanks over the Royals 11-5. Angels over the D-backs 8-3. Mariners over the White Sox 2-1-10 on a walk-off single by Mitch Haniger. So best bet does not win because Luis Robert hits a home run off of Mike Baumann of the Mariners to extend that game. So best bet loses. And Rangers over the Dodgers 3-2. All right, we have some matinee games today. 1 o'clock, you have the Braves at the O's from Camden Yards. Ronaldo Lopez Clover. The O's are really good, but they're just being overlooked by the Yankees. If they didn't win that Yankee series, they wouldn't be within striking distance of the Yankees right now. I mean, granted, that series was in April in cold weather, and the Yankees don't hit well in cold weather. They hit in warm weather, and that's why they're hitting right now. Well, and plus, a lot of their guys are playing well, and Aaron Judge is out of his slump. But the O's, minus 112 favorites. Braves are minus 104 over under 9. Overs minus 124. Unders plus 102. Braves minus 1.5 plus 150. O's plus 1.5 minus 184. I don't know why the Braves are favored on the run line, but the O's are favored on the money line, and I'm going to take them at minus 112. They're just better than Atlanta at this point. Nats Tigers. Patrick Corbin and Casey Mize. Tigers minus 162. Nats plus 136. Over under 9.5. Over even money. Unders minus 122. Nats plus 1.5 is minus 154. Tigers minus 1.5 plus 128. I'm going with the over at even money. Patrick Corbin to me is automatic over. 2 o'clock, Yanks Royals. Nestor Cortez, Alec Marsh, Yankees going for the sweep. They're minus 162 favorites. The Royals are plus 136, over under 10.5. Over is minus 120, under is minus 102. Yanks minus 1.5 is minus 108. Royals plus 1.5 is minus 111. I hate to do this. I've gone against the Yankees a couple times on the podcast recently. I'm doing it again here. I think that the Royals have some value, plus 136. Let's face it, the Royals need the game. Getting swept in a 4-game series at home by the Yankees says that the Royals are frauds. But I think that they want to show what they're made of. Cortez isn't good on the road compared to Yankee Stadium, so I'm going to go with the Royals at plus 136 against the Yankees. Pirates Cards, Mitch Keller and Lance Lynn. Pick them minus 1 each way, over under 10 or 8.5 minus 10 each way. Pirates plus 1.5 or minus 1.5 plus 150. Cards plus 1.5 minus 182. I'm going with the Pirates minus 108. Mitch Keller's pitching a lot better after a slow start, and I don't know why this is a pick 'em. These two teams are around the same record. Pirates have played one more game, so I'm going to go with Pittsburgh in a pick 'em. 650 Cubs Rays. Justin Steele, Taj Bradley. Cubs minus 118. Rays even money, over under 7.5. Over is minus 105. Under is minus 115. Cubs minus 1.5 plus 134. Rays plus 1.5 is minus 162. I'm going to lay the minus 118 with the Chicago Cubs. 7 o'clock, Marlins Mets. Roderi Munoz and Luis Severino. Mets minus 200. Marlins plus 168. Over under 8.5. Over is minus 118. Under is minus 104. Marlins plus 1.5 is minus 126. Mets minus 1.5 plus 105. I'm going with the under. Luis Severino's actually pitched pretty well for the Mets. You could argue he's been their best starter, amazingly enough. But granted, I can't say the Yankees regret moving on there because their rotation is really, really good, and they have the best pitcher in baseball coming back within the next couple of weeks. Maybe against the Mets, ironically. But anyway, I like the under. My dream would be Garrett Cole against Luis Severino as a Yankee fan. Like, that's just funny as heck. Phil's Red Sox. Aaron Nola and Tanner Houck. Phil's minus 118. Red Sox even money, over under 8.5. Over's minus 115. Under's minus 105. Phil's minus 1.5 plus 132. Sox plus 1.5 is minus 160. I'm going with the Red Sox even money. Tanner Houck's been amazing this year. The case against is that they're looking ahead to the Yankee series. But I just like, there's a reason the Red Sox are only even money. I mean, the Phillies are only minus 118. 7:30, A's Twins. Luis Medina and Joe Ryan. Twins minus 245. A's 2-1. Over under 8. Overs minus 1-2. Unders even money. A's plus 1.5 minus 1-4. Twins minus 1.5 minus 115. I'll lay the run line with the Minnesota Twins. 9:40, Fox Sports 1, Angels D-backs. Griffin Canning and Brandon Pfaadt. D-backs minus 184. Angels plus 154. Over under 8.5. Overs minus 112. Unders minus 108. Angels plus 1.5 is minus 134. D-backs minus 1.5 plus 112. I'm going with the over at minus 112. White Sox Mariners. Garrett Crochet and Luis Castillo. Mariners minus 178. White Sox plus 150. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 104. Unders minus 118. White Sox plus 1.5 is minus 62. Mariners minus 1.5 plus 134. I never give out an under with this low of a total, but I'm going to do it here. Under 6.5 at minus 118. And at 10 o'clock, Rangers Dodgers. Michael Lorenzen and Michael Grove. Dodgers minus 188. Rangers plus 158. Over under 8.5. Overs minus 115. Unders minus 105. Rangers plus 1.5 is minus 128. Dodgers minus 1.5 plus 106. That's a tough one. Michael Lorenzen's been pretty good for the Rangers. I just can't bet against the Dodgers twice in a row. Instead, I'm going to go with the under, but I don't feel strongly about that one. All right, now move on to the WNBA. We'll go over the results from yesterday and look ahead to today's games. Commissioner's Cup, Sun over the Sky, 83-75. So Connecticut gets it done again. Alyssa Thomas and Angel Reese each had 20. for their respective teams. The Sun are now WNBA best 11-1. The Sky are 4-7. 3 games, all Commissioner's Cup. 7 o'clock, you have Dream Fever. I'm surprised this isn't on ESPN because they have an obsession with Caitlin Clark, and rightfully so. But the game that they're airing at the same time is pretty good as well. So the Dream are a 2.5-point favorite at Indiana. Total is 164.5. I'm gonna take the Fever getting the 2.5 and plus 118. I don't trust the Dream away from home, so I'm gonna take Caitlin Clark's team to cover and win. ESPN's game is Storm Wings. The Storm are a good team. They're the best team between them, Dallas, Indy, and Atlanta. So, makes sense to air them. And Dallas is pretty, despite a slow start, they're not awful. Seattle's a 6.5-point favorite. Total's 161.5. I like the over. I think the line's right around where it should be. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, so I'm going to go with the over in that one. Last but not least, 10 o'clock on Prime Video, Aces Mercury. The Aces are only 500, and the Mercury are 500 as well. The Mercury beat the Aces early in the year. The Aces are giving 5.5 totals, 170.5. I'm still betting against the Aces until they show me that they're back. I'm taking the Mercury getting the points. They can win the game outright too, but I don't have the balls to pick the money line. So I think the Mercury cover 5.5 to hang around. And the Aces, like I said, they're in like a little funk. They're having a hangover. And the Sun, I feel like, have replaced them as the other super team in a way for right now to go with the Liberty. So I'm going to take the Mercury getting the 5.5 points to cover. Okay, now move on to soccer. We'll go over the notable results from yesterday and look ahead to everything going on today. So, international friendlies, USA, Brazil, 1-1 draw. Ecuador over Bolivia, 3-1. So, Euro starts tomorrow. So, we are going to do a Euro preview and predictions podcast tonight, and that's going to drop tomorrow morning. So we are really looking forward to that. So that's why soccer's main focus is going to be Euros. I don't know if MLS is playing this weekend or not. They are. Okay, so that's good. And the Women's League is playing. And USL is playing as well. And we have a result from USL from yesterday. Memphis and Rhode Island 2-2 draw. So, we had that. So we really don't have a lot of soccer today that we really cover. It's just the La Liga 2, USL, Jägermeister Cup tonight in Nebraska between Union Omaha and the Spokane Velocity. So that's an interesting game. We'll pick that. And we have Copa America coming up next week. So soccer's going to be pretty busy on the podcast coming up within the next couple of weeks. So I don't even have the Omaha Spokane game on my betting thing. So you know what? I'm just gonna pick Union Omaha at home. I don't know what the numbers. I'll just pick it blind. So yeah, we have a lot more soccer to do coming up. We're gonna have the Euro tonight, and a Copa America will do next week on a separate show. Okay, NHL biggest regrets of the decade. I'm sorry I didn't get to this sooner. This was the toughest one to do because I feel like this is the league we see the most mistakes in. I mean, football too, but really, we see the most mistakes in hockey, I feel like. But it's just so hard to pick out some of these. And obviously some of these could cost teams championships, in my opinion. Like, that's how strong I feel. All right, so NHL biggest regrets of the decade. The Anaheim Ducks. The Isaac Lundstrom pick in 2018. So the 2018 draft had some hits and had some misses. But Lundstrom has not produced. There are some other players that are more productive, like Niels Lundqvist, Rasmus Sandin. They were a pick away from Keandre Miller. He was in the conference finals with the Rangers. But there's guys that are more productive on other teams, like Jack Drury is on Carolina, role player. They could have traded back. Boston. The Jakob Zabriel and Zachary Senshin picks in 2015. Okay. Anybody remember when the Bruins had 3 picks in a row? They didn't... DeBrusk is the only actual hit, but it wasn't a home run. Jake DeBrusk was more like a single or a double, depending on how you feel about him. But who'd they pass on? Thomas Chabot, Kyle Connor, Matt Barzal, Brock Besser, Travis Kelce. All those guys could have helped the Bruins. Missing on 2 of those 3 picks cost the Bruins a cup. Buffalo. Not addressing goaltending somehow. So they really have never had a long-term answer in goal. I feel like sometimes they have him and they let him get away. Or they just miss on guys. And they trade for guys that are backups on good teams that were products of their team. So the Sabres missing on goaltending. I mean, you could argue Jeff Skinner, Kyle Oposo, but not really having a long-term answer in goal as really the reason why this team's in this big of a playoff drought. The Calgary Flames. Losing Johnny Gaudreau for nothing. The Matt Tkachuk trade is a close second, but at least they got something for him. They lost Johnny Gaudreau outright as a free agent and didn't get anything for him. And now Calgary's rebuilding. Carolina Hurricanes. Losing Vincent Trocheck in free agency and letting him go to a division rival. Vincent Trocheck going from the Kings to the Rangers, to me, is a bigger deal than giving credit for. And they lost him for absolutely nothing. The Rangers signed him, and now he's their number 2 center, which they didn't have behind Mika Zibanejad for the longest time. So that's a big mistake by the Canes. The Chicago Blackhawks not trading Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews when they had value, and even Duncan Keith for that matter. They kept the core together too long. Granted, they had all those cups, and granted, they had that unfortunate scandal, but they should have broken up that core sooner and started rebuilding sooner. Granted, it helped them get Connor Bedard in the long run. But what if they traded those guys and sooner and had all those players, and they get lucky with Bedard, and then now all of a sudden maybe they're a contender if they hit on those trades. But now they're not going to be a contender for a while. The Colorado Avalanche, the Martin Kaut pick. Martin Kaut was in that 2018 draft. They missed on a lot of guys. Keandre Miller could have helped them. Niels Lundqvist. I mean, they're already deep on defense. Or they could have traded up for somebody. But a lot of these guys didn't work out in 2018, though, for some reason. The Columbus Blue Jackets, the Sonny Milano pick. They took him in 2014. I don't think Sonny Milano is a bad player. But they passed on guys that are better. Alex Tuck, Tony DeAngelo could have helped them. Kasperi Kapanen, more upside. Jared McCann, really good role player. He's better than Sonny Milano. They're a pick away from Dylan Larkin. The big one is they missed on David Pasternak. A lot of teams missed on Pasternak. But if they had him, then that's their building block. And maybe you don't overpay for Johnny Gaudreau. Or maybe you sign Gaudreau and you have them together. The Dallas Stars. The Riley Tufte pick. Was this the same draft? No, this was another draft. I need to see what draft that was because, yes, that was another miss by one of these teams. They hit on Ottinger, to be fair, in 17. That was a big hit. The miss was they were a pick away from Tage Thompson. Like, now looking back, and Tage Thompson's obviously an all-star. They passed on DeBrincat, Jordan Kyrou from the Blues. Samuel Girard was in that draft, so they missed on some guys that could have helped them. Detroit Red Wings, the Evgeny Svechnikov pick in 2015. There were a lot of misses in 2015, I understand that. But, ahead of him, Joel Eriksson, who was a big help on the Wild. Ilya Samsonov, not an all-star, but a more than capable goalie. Brock Besser, they passed on. Travis Kensey were both really good players. So, yeah. That was another one that you're looking back. The Edmonton Oilers signing Jack Campbell in free agency. Yeah. We know how that played out. He's not even their goalie right now in the finals. It's Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell. Huge flop. Florida, ironically enough, not trading Spencer Knight when he had value. So they signed Bobrovsky, and that turned out to be a huge hit. He's still in the Panthers organization. And he's in the minors. He's doing well, but they don't need him. I mean, he has value now. I mean, they can trade him right now for, if Florida has a free agent that they have to replace or something, they could trade him, but they should have traded him sooner in like that 2020 range. And I know they were uncertain with Bobrovsky. But I'm not saying the Spencer Knight pick in general, because I think they picked him just in case they didn't get Bobrovsky. But they should have traded him. That's my opinion. Next is the LA Kings. The Alex Turcotte pick in 2019. 2019 was another mediocre draft. Turcotte went in the lottery. He was the 5th overall pick. Dylan Cousins is a better player. Trevor Zegras is a better player. They could have picked Spencer Knight to be the long-term replacement for Jonathan Quick. Cole Caulfield, there's some other guys in here that could have helped. Peyton Curbs. So, that was a miss by LA. Minnesota. The Philip Johansson pick in 2018. Yet another 2018 draft miss. So he went 24th. Nils Lundqvist is on Dallas. Rasmus Sundin, good player. Those are two defensemen that are better. Saron Noel's playing in the finals right now. Jack Drury we saw in the playoffs for Carolina. Montreal, not trading Carey Price when he had value. This is sad. They just held on to him because he's Carey Price, he's legendary. And the reality is that team needed a rebuild, and they held on to him, and they should have traded him when they had value. Like, there could have been a team like, in theory, Colorado or Pittsburgh or somebody at the time that could have used an upgraded goal to win the cup. I mean, ideally, they should have traded him to Pittsburgh to get Crosby and Malkin one last kick at the can. So, they could have gotten value for him in like that 2018, 2019 range after they stopped contending with that core. Nashville Predators, Matt Duchene signing. That was one of the worst free agent signings ever, and they bought him out. Devils, the PK Subban signing. This was another bad signing. New Jersey went with the big name that was a good player. Or I should say PK Subban trade. And he did not play well. Granted, that was COVID, a lot of that. But again, there are guys that, like, using COVID as an excuse. I mean, say what you want. I still don't think it's all that fair, because there are guys that, in other sports, that played well during the pandemic, and then people say, like, oh, that only happened because of this. I mean, I understand people were sick. I mean, that's one thing, but, like, it just didn't work out with him and the Devils. I mean, COVID was a part of it, but that wasn't all because of that. But I meant to say PK Subban trade rather than signing, because I thought they signed him. But that was a trade. Islanders firing Barry Trotz. So they make 2 back-to-back conference finals, and then they miss the playoffs. And their owner is just like, bye. You didn't make the playoffs. You're gone. All this function with the Islanders would be going on right now if they didn't fire Barry Trotz. He'd still be there, and they would probably be right there at the Rangers and the Canes in that division if he was still there. Rangers, Capo Caco pick. So this is one that can go down as a single-handedly costing team a championship, like the Trey Lance pick might for the 49ers. And the Markelle Fultz with the Sixers. This could be that in hockey. I mean, the Bruins, you can make a case in 2015, same thing with those 3 picks missing on 2 of them. But, granted, Capo Caco was thought out to be a can't-miss prospect. I mean, what if the Rangers like, we don't think he's this can't-miss prospect, let's trade down. Like, the Boston Celtics thought Markelle Fultz wasn't a can't-miss prospect. That's why they traded down. And people were confused, like, why did Boston just trade down? Like, Markelle Fultz was can't miss. Like, he was thought to be can't miss. So was Capo Caco. And obviously now he's a bust. He was scratched in playoff games. And they could have traded down. Like, they could have had Dylan Cousins or Trevor Zegras or Matt Boldy, Spencer Knight. They already had Igor, so that didn't make sense. Like, there's other guys that are better than Capo Caco from this draft. But granted, if they ended up at the first pick with Jack Hughes, then they probably win a cup. Let's be honest. If them and the Devils flopped picks, and they ended up with Hughes, they probably would have won a cup. And he would have probably, it would have been him and Zibanejad. They probably don't sign Trocheck. There's an alternate universe where they get the top pick and the Rangers don't. The Devils don't. And the Devils end up with Capo Caco, and they're, in a worse spot than the Rangers are. And right now, they're in a worse spot than the Rangers are. Ottawa. Logan Brown pick in 2016. Logan Brown was a bust. Logan Brown was picked 11th. He was a lottery pick. They passed on Charlie McAvoy, who is an NHL All-Star team player. They could have had, ironically enough, Jacob Chychrun, who's on Ottawa right now. They could have had him in the draft. Dante Fabro, they could have traded back maybe. Tage Thompson was sitting there. So, that was another miss. Philadelphia Flyers, this is the easiest one on the board, the Nolan Patrick pick. This is kind of like Capo Caco, because Nolan Patrick, like Capo Caco, thought out to be can't miss. But he was more hyped up than Capo Caco. Nolan Patrick was thought to be the number one pick, but Nico Hischier passed him. So, there's like a trade-back scenario, and guys, they missed. Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, Elias Patterson, all all-star franchise-changing players. So, 4 of the top 5 picks were all home runs. Nico Hischier, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, Elias Pettersson. Nolan Patrick was not that. Casey Middlestad's not bad. Nick Suzuki's a good player. So there's some good players in this draft. Robert Thomas. Philip Hedl. But yeah. Biggest flop in that entire draft is Nolan Patrick. Pittsburgh. The David Perron trade in 2015. Because one of those picks ended up with the Islanders, who picked Matt Barzal. St. Louis, the Dominic Bach pick in 2018. This was yet another miss. We talked about guys that are picked after Bach, like Nils Lundqvist, Rasmus Sundin. So, we don't really have to get into 2018 again. We're short on time. San Jose Sharks not blowing up the 2010s core sooner. Yeah, they made the final in 16, but they kept that group together for too long. It's like the Blackhawks. Seattle. The Philip Grubauer signing. Philip Grubauer hasn't been a complete disaster, but Chris Drieger's been better. And even Joey Decord was better than him this year. Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tanner Watt trade. They gave up way too much for Tanner Watt. And he really hasn't produced for Tampa. Toronto, the Patrick Marleau trade. This was a huge mistake by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because they traded him because of a conditional first-round pick. And in result of that, the Hurricanes had that pick from Toronto. And who did that turn out to be? Seth Jarvis. See? Yeah. Because they traded that pick with the Marleau contract. Utah. Let's hope it's the Utah Yeti. The Barrett Hayton pick. He was a bust. Vancouver, the Ali Juleve pick. The guy they picked in 17 was a bust too, but Juleve was a miss as well. Vegas, Paul Stastny trade in terms of value. They should have gotten more back for Paul Stastny. That's just my opinion. Washington, getting rid of Barry Trotz after winning the Cup. So two teams with the same regret pretty much. But yeah, since they got rid of Trotz, they've been mediocre. And now their coach is Spencer Carberry, who I like. But the guy that replaced Trotz stunk. And then they had Peter Laviolette. That didn't work out. And now they have Spencer Carberry, who I like, by the way. No disrespect there. But Barry Trotz is just a legend. And Winnipeg, not trading Blake Wheeler when he had value. They could have traded Blake Wheeler several times in some of those down years, but they just didn't, and they could have gotten something for him. And instead, they didn't trade him, and then they got nothing for him when they could have traded him and got something for him. So there you have it for NHL Big Regrets. Now move on to the news and notes for today. Yeah, that was a long segment. I wanted to get into it with some of these, so I'm going to rapid fire news and notes. The Lakers to interview J.J. Redick, as Redick expected to move to the forefront of the franchise's search if he performs well. The Mavericks talked to Luka about the refs, as Dallas had to beg Luka to stop complaining and treating refs poorly. Yikes. So the Cavs scheduled 3 interviews. James Borrego, Kenny Atkinson, and Micah Nori. And they're also unlikely to trade one of their core 4. But the funny thing is that with the Lakers, it was thought out to be that James Borrego is the leader in the clubhouse and made the Cavs buzz. Mbappe presentation will be July 16th, as the signing will appear in the number 9 shirt. Celtics media trolls Luka Doncic with a pity graphic. Joel Embiid called out the Bucks. Oh, that would make sense because of the Drew Holiday thing. So Jerry West passed away yesterday at the age of 86. The logo, rest in peace. Thoughts and prayers to his family, his friends, his former teammates. And of course, there's a moment of silence before the game for him. So very sad day yesterday in the NBA with the passing of Jerry West. And LeBron made a post about it. And the other big story from yesterday in sports, Joey Chestnut got banned from the Nathan's hot dog contest because of a diet or something, which is absolutely crazy. So the Patriots retired Tom Brady's number pretty much yesterday. It was a Hall of Fame, Patriots Hall of Fame induction that they had at Gillette Stadium yesterday. His kids surprised him with a tribute video. John Cena was there, Randy Moss, and then Robert Kraft announces that 12 has officially been retired. I think they're doing a ceremony during the season, and they're also building a statue, so that is pretty good. Hassan Reddick denies contract rumors as he tells fans to stop believing the foolery. I think he lied. Yankees Red Sox got moved from 7 o'clock to 6:30 tomorrow because of Game 4 of the NBA Finals at 8:30. Correct decision by the Red Sox to do it. For the sake of Red Sox fans, yes. Because if that was the Knicks in the NBA Finals, and say the Yankees had a game at home, the Yankees would have done the same thing. They would have moved it to a day game. But the reason why that game did get moved to a day game in Boston is because they're playing the Yankees, let's be honest. If they're playing somebody else, that gets moved to 1 o'clock at Fenway. Patrick Laine wants to trade as he is looking for a fresh start as both sides work on a potential deal. The Cubs signed Jorge Lopez. So we'll see how that works out. Their team's eyeing the Rays stars. Execs hope to buy low on Randy Arozarena, Yandy Diaz, and Brandon Lau amid Tampa struggles. That would be a lot of fun. Dodgers trade for Kevon Biggio after being designated for assignment by the Blue Jays last week. How about this? The ACC SEC challenge matchups are out for basketball. Alabama against Carolina. So that's a rematch of this. Was that the Sweet 16? Yes. And Auburn Duke. So that's pretty exciting. Messi believes that he'll finish his career in Miami in the MLS, so that's not surprising. And Messi won't play in the Olympics as he says suiting up for both Copa America and Paris Olympics isn't realistic at his age. So that's a big blow for Argentina come the Olympics. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day brought to you by FanDuel. There was a baseball one I liked, and it was an over. Because it's Brandon Pfaadt, and it's because it's Griffin Canning, and the total's not even 9. So I have to go here and take that over 8.5 at minus 112. I'm going to lay a 20th of a unit on it. So over 8.5, minus 112 between the Angels and the Diamondbacks for my best bet of the day. So there you have it for the show, and I'll be back tonight with the Euro preview, and then the Friday show will be up tomorrow at some point. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.